This is Jess from 3D Learning Experts, and you're listening to the LD Experts Podcast, the show for busy parents who want to help their kids with learning disabilities, or as I like to say, learning differences, go from surviving to thriving. Hello, everybody. Today, we continue our series of interviewing colleges that are neurodiverse friendly. And today, we have Daniel Chan here with Sarah Lawrence, which is very close to my heart because my mom was a neurodiverse student back in the 50s who attended Sarah Lawrence. So welcome, Daniel.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's very nice to meet you. I really appreciate that we are able to talk about Sarah Lawrence because, like I said, my mom attended in the 50s. She didn't realize that Sarah Lawrence was a good university for people with neurodiversities. Today, it is on many lists of ideal schools for neurodiverse learners, which I love that it is still a great place for neurodiverse people to attend. So I'd love for you to share why Sarah Lawrence is an ideal school for neurodiverse individuals. But I guess before you share that, let's talk about what your position is at the university.
Oh, I am the Director of Access and Disability Services. So I meet with students and discuss, academic accommodations in order to help make their time at Sarah Lawrence a little, not easier, but a little bit more open, and to help students gain access to education.
Awesome. And so what's wrong with making it easier? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see that, but I think I guess it's my old-fashioned way of thinking. Academics was always associated with being difficult, and I wish that it wasn't. But and I guess I really should know better. It could definitely be easier, but I guess it's my age showing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also what our perspective is, right? Like easier to me is a learning style that is more in tune with a neurodiverse learner's way of learning.
Right.
So, but for someone else, easier could mean they're given the answers to the tests ahead of time. So we definitely don't want that type of easier, but to be more conducive to our unique learning styles, why not make it easier?
Definitely make it easier to access, access education. And I guess, I should clarify, there's this thing where, you have to be otherwise qualified to attend a university and stuff. And universities, they don't have to soften their requirements, but they just have to make sure that it's accessible to students who are otherwise qualified with or without accommodations. And I guess that's how I mean it.
That's great. So when my mother attended, Sarah Lawrence did not have tests. Do they have tests now?
There are some tests, but not as much as in a traditional school. It's not very test heavy. There are tests though, but it's possible, though it might be a little difficult to go through your entire academic career at Sarah Lawrence without, having to take a class that has an exam. But in general, there's far fewer exams. It's much more of an assignment type school. So you're given conference work and you have generally the whole semester to work on it.
Which can be a challenge for someone with executive functioning skills.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you assist a student in how to create a timeline in order to complete the assignments before the end of the semester?
Yeah, and basically what, I make myself available, and I can meet with my students, bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, whatever they feel comfortable with, and we can also change it. And, I ask them, where they are on their assignments and, what is due. And we discuss like, ways to mitigate getting stuck in a rut or getting not, getting in a position where they are falling too far behind. Also work with students and communicating with instructors and to ask for extensions if need be. And, they work with the professors and they ask, about extensions. And sometimes that can be a bit, of a help. Sometimes though, like, there are some students who would find, who find having too much time difficult. So they'd rather have a shorter leash, as it were. And, they want something like that is more regimented, and other students would like it less regimented. So it depends upon the student.
So is Sarah Lawrence flexible for whatever the student's needs or preferences are in that manner?
In general, yes, but while protecting the integrity of the class and the all the program that they're in, because certain classes, certain programs, they do have set criteria. But there's usually a little wiggle room. Sometimes incompletes can be asked for. Sometimes extensions past, mandatory deadlines can be granted. In general, most professors at Sarah Lawrence College, will work with students and, grant them the extensions that they need, unless, of course, it would somehow fundamentally undermine or alter its essential elements of a class or program. But by that time, usually they would have spoken to the students, and they would, the students would know where they stand and such.
And so is the class mostly lectures, or is it interactive, or what does a typical class look like?
Usually with conference work, there are group projects, or, there's a variety. Sometimes there are lectures. Sometimes there are conference work where students are grouped, placed into groups and they work together with the professor supervising. Sometimes it's a combination of both. So it kind of depends on what class that you're taking at Sarah Lawrence.
And what kind of college is Sarah Lawrence?
It's a 4-year school. It has, it's basically a 4-year school. It also has a graduate component. It offers, bachelor's. And you can also fine tune your own bachelor's degree so that you can make it your own sort of. So it's not always set, as in traditional schools, but you can make your own area of study, as it were.
And it's a private college, correct?
Right. Oh,
located
yes.
In New York, outside of the
New
city.
York. Right, about 15 minutes outside of the city.
Okay, and is it a liberal arts college, or does it have? Okay, yes, that's what I thought. So, what can a student and parents expect to be different at Sarah Lawrence versus a traditional college for their child?
In general, like I said, it's not a very test-heavy school. There are some tests. It's mostly project-based, and that usually helps students, who are neurodiverse. Not always, but I think in general it does help. There are accommodations and help that is found throughout the school, which is also found in other schools as well. But I think the fact that we're less test heavy, that you get to, detail your own bachelor's and area of study, I think that's what sets us apart from other schools.
Awesome. And you already spoke that you have resources available for neurodiverse students to be able to come and get help. Do you have any recommendations for them on how to go about coming to get help from you, or do they register with you when they first start, or what's that process like?
Generally, in order to get accommodations, they need to register with the Office of Access and Disability Services. And, they can reach out to me, or they can go to our website. And on the My SLC portal, there's a disability services website, page, I should say. And it details like how to register with us. But in general, we just need some sort of documentation from a qualified healthcare provider, or once I get that, I reach out to the student. We go over, what reasonable accommodations can be. And I ask them what's worked for them in the past. And we can see, if we can transfer that over to Sarah Lawrence. And in general, we can and stuff. But there are certain differences between high school and college. And there are certain things that, you can do in high school that you can't do in college. So there might be some things that, we can't do, but by and large, we're generally able to transfer most of the accommodations over, except on very rare occasions where it would be egregious.
And so you mentioned a letter from their healthcare provider. What about if they have an IEP from school? Can they just use that?
Sometimes it depends on how it's written and stuff, because IEPs in general were internal documents to boards of education, and sometimes they wouldn't, detail a diagnosis. But generally, I would read an IEP or a 504 plan, and and I would make a determination if I could use that or not. But in general, most students also have access to a therapist, which they can write out a letter to me, or they can fill out the form that we have on the MySLC portal page, and and if they don't have access to that, they can still get in touch with me, and we can try to figure things out and work things out and do an interactive interview, and do the interactive process and see about registering them in.
Okay. Are you familiar with are there clubs and organizations and extracurricular activities at Sarah Lawrence that students get involved in?
Yes, there's a lot of them, but they change semester to semester. I was just talking to one student, like the anime club used to be really big, and now I heard that it's kind of fallen a bit, but it might come back. On the MySLC portal again, there's usually a list of clubs that people can join. There is a strong disability, the Disability Alliance Club, that is really active on SLC, where they advocate for students with disabilities. And then there's a lot of clubs just for entertainment value or hobbies and stuff. And yeah, you just have to look at the list and see what you want to join.
Okay. And do you know if Sarah Lawrence collaborates with any community organizations or employers to provide internships and career-related experience for neurodiverse students?
They do. They have the CLIP program, and I forget what the CLIP program stands for. And they have several other programs and internships where students with or without disabilities can apply for. And, during the process, they can ask for accommodations, and we reach out to the internship site and see about accommodating those students.
Okay, great. Do you have any additional advice for parents of children with neurodiversities or students themselves when they're applying, or how to succeed in college?
I would suggest, whichever colleges that they're looking to go into, talk to the Disability Service Office. They can reach me at SLC or my counterparts at other colleges, and, talk about what accommodations they're looking for, and, how it's provided, and see if, if what they do jives with what you're looking for. Also, communication is a big thing, and, learning to live on your own is also another big thing. And I'm not sure how one gets any experience of doing that except by doing it. But sometimes, students are granted a lot of freedom. They go out of high school, out of their parents' house, and are living on their own. And certainly, certainly happened to me, you're not sure what to do with all that freedom at times and stuff. And you just have to, work your way through it. But if you think about it and you make a plan for yourself, even though, it may be a little difficult to hang on to, that would help also.
Yeah, I have 4 children, and my daughter's says, well, you didn't prepare us to do this or that when we left home. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't realize the long list of things that I should have prepared prior to them exiting, but I'm here to answer those questions now.
And, it depends upon the person. Like, they can totally get one thing and then not another thing. And then you're like, well, you didn't tell me how to get to Walmart. And you're like, well, well, okay, well, here's how you get to Walmart. And, that's, that, but you don't know what they need to know until they need to know it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I raised my kids on Trader Joe's organic food, and they complained as kids. And now, as they're all becoming adults, they all shop at Trader Joe's. So, like that wouldn't even have been something that I thought that I would need to prepare them for, because they didn't like it when they were younger.
Yeah. I love Trader Joe's too. So,
yeah. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share with us about Sarah Lawrence and your program.
Thank you very much.